My name is Marcell Hanson, and you're listening to Small Habits, Big Changes. Let's dive in. Welcome to this week's episode. I recently added 2 little baby kittens to my brood at home, and it's been fascinating to watch them fall in line. I think we can learn so much from animals, and the reason people could never be as amazing and, quite frankly, as impressive as animals is that we don't know how to stay in our lane. We don't even know, for the most part, what our lane is. And you see, it's been fascinating over the years to watch my older cats interact with a young kitten or younger cat coming into the picture. There's definitely a beautiful hierarchy in the cat kingdom, and it's not determined by size necessarily, though I think we feel like it is because a kitten is small and a cat is larger, and typically the cat runs the roost, lays down, sends out the alpha memo, make sure everybody gets it. But it's more the energy. A cat has also been a kitten, has learned its way through its teen years and into its adulthood. And so when a new arrival is on the scene, there's a kitten, it is the cat's job to guide that kitten, to teach it boundaries, and to ensure that it someday takes its place. I think that's where we've gone astray. We've isolated our seniors, and really most actions that are taken in our society really reflect our diminished respect of our seniors. And unfortunately, it leads to a lot of misfortune and craziness, actually. Imagine like kittens just raising themselves. I think their rate to adulthood would be quite diminished, as well as their ability to behave in a manner that allows them to live a long life. And watching little kittens come into a scene where my older cat passed at 21 this summer. His little brother that he guided to his adulthood is 8 years his junior. So he's 13 and a half now. And so now to have 2 8-week-old kittens, which are playing in the background, come onto the scene, there's quite an age gap. I'm so impressed with all of them, because my older boy, who's 13, he's never been alone except for these past 5 months, almost 5 months now that his brother's passed. He's always had his brother around. And I think that he was lonely, and that's why I picked up the two little brothers for him. But I think also he's at the stage at 13, he's probably got another 10 years in him. And I think he enjoys his peace and quiet, his naps. He knows where everything is. Nothing gets out of place. He's got a routine down. We've lived in the same house for nearly 9 years. And so most of his life, certainly his recent, 3/4 of his life, has been in the same place. He's pretty much, pretty certain of the terrain where we reside. And to have these 2 little guys come in, they came from a household where there were, 6 grown cats along with their siblings, their litter mates. And they just have no fear about other cats. They just recognize like, yeah, another cat. And they just go whizzing by. Well, Robert, my oldest, he had his day of hissing. We're only like literally, as I'm filming, we're less than a week in, we're like 5 days in. He's already like curious what they're doing. They're right up on each other. They haven't quite sniffed each other yet, but he's been in their space, and then they've been out entire home running around a couple times a day. The door's left open. They like to stay there in here. This is where their space is. But they like to run out and see a little bit, but they encounter Robert on a regular basis, and they're whizzing by him. And if they're really close, or they try and grab his tail, or they touch his tail or something, he gives them a good hiss. He's setting a boundary, not because he doesn't like them, not because he wants to fight them, purely because he is teaching them the hierarchy. He's saying, this is my space. I am the king. You will abide by my rules. I will teach you everything I know, and one day you too will be the king. He's literally sitting right over here watching them. So it's fascinating. He's very consistent. He is a little emotional about it because he's an emotional boy, but the kittens fall immediately into line. They're like, whoa, okay, you're not the same one of the 5, 6 cats that we were looking up to before. We get it. You're the boss. They literally back away. They're not scared of him. That's their way of showing respect. And I think in our world, we show such disrespect in general to our seniors. I've said this before. 2 of my closest friends are 74 and 90. They are the 2 people I see the most. I see them on a daily basis. I check in with them every single day. And our conversations are quite different than they are from someone my own age or younger. And I think there's just so much to gain from not only respecting your elders, but spending quality time with them, seeing what's going on for them, how their life is unfolding. And it doesn't always have to be in conversation. Sometimes it's just in proximity. But to see how someone who lives on their own manages and how we can contribute to the betterment of their existence. Now, for some of you, for many of you, it may be that you do that with your own seniors in your family, whether that be an aging parent or whether that be your grandparents. Maybe it's an aunt or an uncle or a neighbor that you had. And that's a great place to start. If you have that opportunity, do certainly take it. But there's a lot of people that don't have that privilege and don't have that opportunity. And so, going down to the senior center, or, it's not that hard to find. You could literally go door to door knocking in my neighborhood, and probably every 1 out of 10. I live in a neighborhood that has about 7,500 houses, and about a third of those are occupied by homeowners. And I would say probably a third of those, or half of those maybe, are occupied by like single, either widow or widowed, or single octogenarians or nonagenarians. I have a number of clients that are in their 80s and 90s, and I'm always in awe of how much they do. They're on their own. They literally are managing or mismanaging or deferred managing an entire household. We're talking about all the things that you and I take for granted. And yes, people can live without mowing their lawn every week, or, repainting the house every 5 or 10 years. But what about more essential things like holes in your roof, or just going out to get the mail so you can have some interaction? Maybe your cable goes down and that's your only connection to the outside world because you email, or your phone line goes down, even worse, because most of the time those seniors are using the phone as their primary reach out. I think that we would do better to be more like kittens and really revere and hold in high esteem our seniors and acknowledge the gravity of the life that they have lived. And we can learn a lot from that. I certainly am learning a lot from engaging with the cats. I'm always so impressed with how quickly the little ones step into line, but also that they don't take it personally. When the older cats tell them how it is, that's the way it is. Now, once they start to mingle in the next week, 2 weeks, and they start to spend more time together, there's a different play that happens. There's a different interaction that will happen, and that's even more fun. I'll probably get into it on another episode, and I can introduce you to the gang. But I wanted to take the opportunity to say there's a lot that we can learn from our seniors, and being open and being curious about that exchange and about their history and getting to know them as people. It's a beautiful, beautiful privilege is what it is. I think of being able to be a guide to fur babies, parenting, if you will, as a privilege as well. It's really an opportunity, and it actually is a lot like a human child. Like, parenting is one of the most rewarding things I've ever experienced in my life, and I hope he knows that. And you are never too old to parent. You're never too old to take on that role, and you're never too old to take on a mentee, like a receiving of mentorship, if you will, or companionship or guidance from a senior in your community. So I hope that, just the conversation shines light on an opportunity that either you're taking advantage of, and I hope you continue to, or one that you certainly could take advantage of, and I hope that you do, because there's a lot of divisiveness in not just our political environment, but our entire social structure in North America, primarily in the United States. And in order for that to change, an entire dismantling of the discorded family unit, community unit, if you will, that needs to happen. The dismantling needs to happen before we can build something back up that works. We can take from other cultures and borrow, if you will, from other cultures the best of both the nuclear family and the community at large. And I hope we do that. I'll leave you with that. Something to think on for a week. If you have any questions or any insights that you gleaned, I'd love to hear from you. You can join our free texting community. The number is on the outro, but I'll give it to you quick here. It's 206-483-2960. You can text the word yes, 206-483-2960. And if you made it this far in the podcast, thank you so much for your time. I hope that you have a great connection, a warm connection, and a long-lasting connection with a senior in your life. And if you ever get the chance to have kittens for your older cat, I highly recommend. Until next week, keep kicking, stay strong, be awesome. Thank you so much for listening today. If you feel any part of this episode resonated with you, then please consider sharing it with a friend who may also find value in it. And remember to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And before you go, did you know we have a fantastic free text community? If you want more bite-sized health hacks and reminders delivered directly to your phone, absolutely free, then text keyword yes to 206-483-2960. Again, that's keyword yes to 206-483-2960. And we'll see you on the inside.